Dr. Zix yawned as he stared at the boring computer screen. Every day, he looked at space maps, hoping to find something new. But it was always the same old stars and planets. Suddenly, a beat made him sit up straight. His big eyes blinked fast as he saw something strange on the screen. It wasn't a star or a planet. It was junk. "Computer, zoom in," he said, his voice shaky with excitement. The screen showed a closer view. It was definitely not natural. The object was made of metal, all bent and broken. It floated silently in the empty space between stars. Dr. Zix's 3 hearts beat faster. This was it, the big discovery he had always dreamed of. He pressed a button to call his boss. "Captain, I found something weird in Sector 7. The captain, a tall alien with blue skin, walked over. She looked at the screen and frowned. "What is that thing?" "I don't know," Dr. Zix said. "But it's not from our part of the galaxy. Can we go check it out?" The captain thought for a moment. "Okay, but be careful. It might be dangerous." Dr. Zix couldn't believe his luck. He had never left the ship before. He was just a map reader, after all. But now, he was going on a real space adventure. He put on his spacesuit, his hands shaking with excitement. The suit was too big for him, making him look like a puffy balloon with arms and legs. Dr. Zix entered the small ship that would take him to the strange object. As the doors closed, he felt a mix of fear and excitement. What would he find out there? The small ship flew towards the mysterious junk. As they got closer, Dr. Zix saw more and more pieces. It wasn't just one thing. It was a whole field of broken objects. "Wow," he whispered. There were chunks of metal, bits of glass, and strange devices he had never seen before. All of it was just floating there, like a graveyard of forgotten things. The ship's computer spoke up. "Warning. Unknown materials detected. Proceed with caution." Dr. Zix nodded. He was nervous, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He had to know what these things were. The ship stopped next to a large piece of metal. It was as big as a house, with strange marks on its side. Dr. Zix squinted at the marks. They looked like writing, but not in any language he knew. He pressed a button, and a robot arm came out of the ship. It grabbed the big metal piece and pulled it closer. Dr. Zix saw more strange things attached to it. There were round things that looked like windows, and long metal poles sticking out from the sides. "What are you?" he asked the object, even though he knew it couldn't answer. Just then, something caught his eye. There was a small, flat object stuck to the big piece of metal. It was shiny and seemed to have a picture on it. Dr. Zix carefully grabbed it with the robot arm and brought it into the ship. His hands were shaking as he picked it up. It was made of a material he had never seen before. Not quite metal, not quite plastic. The picture on it showed creatures he had never seen. They stood on 2 legs and had hair on top of their heads. They were smiling and standing in front of a blue and green planet. Dr. Zix gasped. Could this be a picture of aliens and their home world? He turned the object over. There was more of that strange writing on the back, and below it there was a symbol. It looked like 2 sticks crossed over each other. Dr. Zix felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't know why, but he felt like he had just found something very, very important. He looked out at the field of space junk again. It wasn't just junk, he realized. It was history, the leftovers of some lost civilization, floating in space for who knows how long. As he flew back to his ship, Dr. Zix couldn't stop looking at the picture. Who were these creatures? What happened to them? And why did their stuff end up way out here, so far from any planets? He knew one thing for sure. His boring days of looking at space maps were over. A new adventure was just beginning. And Dr. Zix couldn't wait to solve the mystery of the weird space junk. Dr. Zix couldn't sit still. His ship was heading towards the mystery planet he had found. The weird space junk had led him here. As they got closer, he saw a blue and green ball growing bigger in the window. It looks just like the planet in the picture, he said to himself, his eyes wide with wonder. The ship's computer beeped. Warning: no life signs detected on the planet's surface. Dr. Six frowned. How could that be? The planet looked perfect for life. It had water, land, and clouds. But where were all the creatures? As the ship entered the planet's sky, Dr. Six saw something strange. There were big shapes on the ground. They weren't mountains or trees. They were too straight and square. Are those buildings? He asked, not believing his eyes. The ship landed in a clear spot. Dr. Six put on his spacesuit, his heart's beating fast. He was about to step onto an alien world. The door opened with a hiss. Dr. Six took a deep breath and stepped out. His foot touched the ground, and he felt something crunch under it. He looked down. It was hard and black, with white lines painted on it. A road, he wondered. But where are the vehicles? He looked around. Tall structures stood all around him, reaching up to the sky. But they were quiet and dark. Plants grew all over them, like green blankets. Dr. Six walked down the empty road. He saw things that must have been signs, but the writing was faded. Shop windows were broken, their insides empty. It was like everyone had left in a hurry. Hello, he called out, but only his echo answered back. As he turned a corner, he saw something that made him gasp. It was a big metal thing with wheels. A car, he said, remembering pictures he had seen in old books. But this car was rusty and covered in vines. A tree had even grown through its roof. Dr. Six felt sad. What had happened here? Where did everyone go? He walked on, looking for clues. Suddenly, the ground under him felt different. He looked down and saw a big crack in the road. Curious, he peered inside. Whoa! He shouted as he almost fell in. It wasn't just a crack. It was a huge hole. And inside, he could see tunnels and tracks. A subway, he whispered, amazed. These creatures had built cities on top of the ground, and under it too. Dr. Six carefully climbed down into the subway. It was dark, but his suit had lights. He walked along the old tracks, his footsteps echoing in the empty tunnels. Something shiny caught his eye. He bent down to look. It was a small rectangle of metal. He picked it up and wiped off the dirt. There was a picture on it of one of the creatures he had seen before. Next to the picture was a name. Sarah Johnson. Sarah, Dr. Six said softly, what happened to you and your people? He put the card in his pocket and kept walking. The tunnel led to a big room with broken machines. Signs above them said things like tickets and information. Dr. Six was so busy looking around that he didn't notice the floor was weak. Suddenly, it cracked under his feet. Ah! He yelled as he fell. He slid down a slope of broken concrete and landed with a splash in dirty water. Shaking, he stood up and looked around. He was in a round tunnel with water flowing through it. A sewer. Yuck, he said, but then he saw something interesting. There was a small door in the wall of the tunnel. It looked newer than everything else he had seen. Heart pounding, Dr. Six opened the door. Inside was a small room with a computer, and unlike everything else on this ghost planet, it looked like it still worked. He walked up to it, wondering if he should touch it. What if it was dangerous? But his curiosity won. He reached out and pressed a button. The screen lit up. Words appeared. Welcome, survivor. Please enter password. Dr. Six's mouth fell open. This computer was left for survivors. But survivors of what? And what was the password? He tried typing Sarah, the name from the card he found. Nothing happened. Then he remembered the strange symbol he saw on the thing from space. The two crossed sticks. Maybe. He looked at the keyboard. It had symbols he didn't know, but he found two that looked like sticks. He pressed them. The screen changed. New words appeared. Identity confirmed. Initiating protocol Omega. Suddenly, the whole room started to shake. Dr. Zix grabbed onto the computer to keep from falling. What was happening? What had he started? As the shaking got worse, he realized his amazing discovery might also be very dangerous. What secrets would this ghost planet reveal? And would he survive to tell anyone about them? Dr. Zix held onto the computer tightly as the room shook. His eyes were shut, waiting for the worst. But then, everything stopped. He slowly opened his eyes. The small room had changed. The walls had moved, showing a bigger space behind them. Lights turned on one by one, revealing a large round room filled with strange machines. "Wow," Dr. Zix whispered, his mouth open in surprise. Suddenly, a voice spoke. It wasn't loud, but it made Dr. Zix jump. "Hello, survivor. Welcome to Emergency Bunker 42. Dr. Zix looked around. "Who said that?" he asked, his voice shaky. A screen on the wall lit up. A face appeared on it. It wasn't like any face Dr. Zix had seen before. It was like the creatures in the picture, but made of light. "I am ARIA, the Artificial Response and Information Assistant," the face said. "I was created to help survivors of the Great Disaster." Dr. Zix's hearts were beating fast. A talking computer, and it thought he was a survivor. Hello ARIA, he said nervously. "I'm Dr. Zix, but I'm not a survivor. I'm an alien. I just found this planet." Aria's face looked surprised. "An alien? Fascinating. My databanks have no record of contact with alien life." Dr. Zix walked closer to the screen. "Aria, what happened here? Where are all the people?" Aria's face turned sad. "The inhabitants of Earth, known as humans, faced a great crisis. My last records show that they were forced to leave the planet." "Leave? But where did they go?" Dr. Zix asked. "That information is classified," Aria said. "It can only be accessed by those who pass the humanity verification protocol." Dr. Zix's antenna perked up. A challenge. "What's the humanity verification protocol?" he asked. Aria smiled. "It's a series of tests designed to check if someone understands what it means to be human. Would you like to try?" Dr. Zix nodded eagerly. "Yes, please." "Very well," Aria said. "But I must warn you. These tests can be difficult and even dangerous. Are you sure you want to proceed?" Dr. Zix thought for a moment. It could be risky, but he had come too far to turn back now. "I'm sure," he said bravely. "Excellent," Aria replied. "Then let the protocol begin. Your first test is about to start." Suddenly, one of the machines in the room turned on. It made a humming noise and started to glow. "This device will create a virtual reality simulation," Aria explained. "You will face challenges that humans once faced. Your responses will be monitored." Dr. Zix walked towards the glowing machine. "What kind of challenges?" he asked. Aria's voice was serious. "You will face fear, Dr. Zix. You will face hard choices. You will experience joy and sadness. Through it all, you must show the qualities that made humans unique." The machine opened up, revealing a place for Dr. Zix to lie down. He took a deep breath and climbed in. "Good luck, Dr. Zix," Aria said. "Remember to understand humanity. You must think like a human. Feel like a human." The machine closed around Dr. Zix. He felt a strange tingling all over his body. His vision went dark. When he opened his eyes again, he wasn't in the bunker anymore. He was standing on a busy street. Tall buildings surrounded him. Strange vehicles zoomed by. And everywhere he looked, there were humans. They walked past him, talking and laughing. No one seemed to notice that he wasn't human. He looked down at his hands. They weren't his usual green color. They looked like human hands. "Your first test begins now," Aria's voice said in his head. "A child's ball is about to roll into the street. A car is coming. What will you do?" Dr. Zix looked around frantically. He saw a small human, a child, playing with a round object. The ball slipped from the child's hands and rolled towards the road. A big yellow vehicle was coming fast. The child ran after the ball, not seeing the danger. Dr. Zix's heart raced. What should he do? In his real body, he could easily outrun the vehicle. But in this human body, he wasn't sure. The child was almost at the road. The vehicle was getting closer. Dr. Zix had to make a choice. Without thinking, he ran. His new legs felt strange, but he pushed them as hard as he could. He reached out and grabbed the child just as the ball rolled into the street. The vehicle zoomed by, missing them by inches. Dr. Zix's heart was pounding. The child looked up at him with big, scared eyes. "Thank you," the child said softly. Suddenly, everything froze. Ariah's voice spoke again. "Well done, Dr. Zix. You showed bravery and care for others. These were important human traits. But this is just the beginning. Are you ready for your next challenge?" Dr. Zix looked at the frozen scene around him. He had just saved a life. Even if it wasn't real, it felt amazing. He wanted to learn more about these humans. "I'm ready," he said confidently. "Bring on the next test." As the world around him started to change again, Dr. Zix wondered what other adventures and challenges he would face. And more importantly, what would he learn about the mysterious humans who once called this ghost planet home? Dr. Zix's world changed again. The busy street disappeared, and he found himself in a small room. It looked like a classroom, with desks and a big board at the front. Ariah's voice came from nowhere. "Welcome to your next test, Dr. Zix. Humans valued creativity and problem-solving. Let's see how you do." The question appeared on the board. "How many ways can you use a paperclip?" Dr. Zix looked confused. "What's a paperclip?" A small metal object appeared on his desk. It was bent in a funny shape. "You have 5 minutes," Ariah said. "Be creative." Dr. Zix picked up the paperclip. He turned it around in his fingers, thinking hard. Then ideas started to come. "You could use it to hold papers together," he said, "or as a tiny hook, maybe even as a tool to push small buttons." As he spoke, each idea appeared on the board. He got more excited. A bookmark, a thing to clean under your nails, a lockpick, a tiny sculpture. Soon, the board was full of ideas. When time was up, Ariah sounded happy. "Excellent work. You showed great creativity. Humans often had to think outside the box." The room faded away. Now Dr. Zix was on a sandy beach. The sun was setting, making the sky orange and pink. Humans also valued beauty and emotion, Ariah explained. "Your next task is to write a poem about what you see." Dr. Zix had never written a poem before. He looked around, trying to find the right words. The sun is going down. The sky is pretty. The water is wet." Ariah made a sound like a laugh. "Perhaps poetry isn't your strong suit, but that's okay." Humans understood that not everyone was good at everything. The important thing is that you tried. The beach disappeared. Now Dr. Zix was in a garden. Beautiful plants and flowers were everywhere. Humans had a special connection to nature, Ariah said. "Your task is to grow a plant." A pot of dirt appeared in front of Dr. Zix, along with some seeds, water, and tools. This should be easy, Dr. Zix thought. He was good with plants on his home world. He planted the seed and watered it, but nothing happened. "Come on, grow," he said, poking the dirt. Ariah's voice was gentle. "Patience, Dr. Zix. Some things take time. Humans learn to wait and nurture." Dr. Zix sat by the pot. He talked to the plant, telling it about his adventures. He made sure it had water and sunlight. After what felt like hours, a tiny green shoot appeared. "It worked," Dr. Zix shouted, jumping up and down. The plant grew faster now, turning into a beautiful flower. "Well done," Ariah said. "You showed patience and care." The garden faded. Dr. Zix found himself in a busy kitchen. Humans loved to create and share food. Araya explained. Your task is to bake a cake. Dr. Zix looked at the ingredients on the counter. He had no idea what to do. You mix things together and make them hot, he guessed. He threw everything into a bowl and stirred. Then he put it in a hot box called an oven. Soon, a burning smell filled the room. Dr. Zix opened the oven to find a black, smoking lump. Oh no, he said, feeling sad. But Araya didn't sound disappointed. Failure was a part of human life too. The important thing is to learn and try again. Encourage. Dr. Zix tried once more. This time, he read the instructions carefully. His second cake wasn't perfect, but it was much better. Excellent, Araya said. You showed perseverance. The kitchen disappeared. Now Dr. Zix was in a park. A sad-looking human sat on a bench. Humans cared deeply for each other, Araya said. Your task is to cheer up this person. Dr. Zix walked over to the bench. Hello, he said. Why are you sad? The human looked up. I lost my job. I don't know what to do. Dr. Zix thought for a moment. Then he sat down next to the human. I'm sorry that happened, he said. It must be hard. But you know what? I bet you're good at lots of things. Maybe this is a chance to try something new. The human smiled a little. You really think so? Dr. Zix nodded. I do. And hey, want to hear a joke? Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. The human laughed. It wasn't a great joke, but it seemed to help. Thank you, the human said. I feel better now. The park faded away. Dr. Zix was back in the bunker room. Araya's face appeared on the screen, smiling. Congratulations, Dr. Zix. You've completed the humanity verification protocol. Dr. Zix felt proud. Did I pass? He asked eagerly. Araya nodded. You showed creativity, emotion, patience, perseverance, and kindness. These were all important human traits. Dr. Zix bounced with excitement. So now can you tell me what happened to the humans? Araya's face turned serious. Yes, but I must warn you. The truth about humanity's fate is not easy to hear. Are you sure you're ready? Dr. Zix took a deep breath. He had come this far. He had to know. I'm ready, he said. Tell me everything. Dr. Zix stood nervously in front of Araya's screen. He was finally going to learn the truth about the humans. Araya's face looked serious. Dr. Zix, what I'm about to tell you might be hard to believe. Are you sure you want to know? Dr. Zix nodded. Yes, please tell me. Araya began her story. Long ago, humans were the most advanced species in this part of the galaxy. They had amazing technology. They could travel faster than light. Dr. Zix's eyes went wide. Faster than light. But that's impossible. Araya smiled. For humans, nothing was impossible. They built huge ships that could jump across space in seconds. Wow, Dr. Zix whispered. But what happened to them? Araya's face turned sad. Humans were curious, just like you. They wanted to explore every corner of the universe. But one day, they found something they weren't ready for. Dr. Zix leaned closer. What was it? They discovered a wormhole, Araya said. A shortcut through space and time. They were excited to explore it. But they didn't know the danger. Dr. Zix felt a chill. What danger? Araya continued. The wormhole led to another universe. A dark, strange place. Something followed them back. Something not friendly. Dr. Zix gasped. You mean aliens? Araya nodded. Yes, but not like you. These were creatures of pure energy. They couldn't understand physical life. They thought humans were a mistake that needed to be fixed. Oh no, Dr. Zix said. Did they attack? They tried, Araya said. But humans were clever. They knew they couldn't win a fight. So they came up with a plan. Dr. Zix was on the edge of his seat. What kind of plan? Araya's voice was full of pride. The greatest trick in history. Humans pretended to disappear. Disappear? Dr. Zix asked, confused. Yes, Araya said. They used their advanced technology to hide every trace of themselves. They made it look like they had never existed at all. Dr. Zix looked around the empty bunker. But where did they go? Araya's eyes twinkled. Everywhere and nowhere. They spread themselves across the galaxy. They mixed their DNA with other species. They hid their minds in computer networks. Some even turned themselves into energy, like their enemies. Dr. Zix's head was spinning. You mean humans are still out there? In a way, Araya said. They're hidden, scattered, waiting. Someday, when it's safe, they'll come back together. They'll rebuild their civilization. Dr. Zix thought about everything he had seen. The empty cities, the advanced technology. It all made sense now. But why tell me? He asked. Why show me all this? Araya smiled warmly. Because you passed the test, Dr. Zix. You showed that you have the best qualities of humanity. Curiosity, kindness, bravery. Humans wanted someone like you to find this place. Dr. Zix felt proud, but also confused. But what am I supposed to do with this information? That's up to you, Araya said. You could keep the secret, help protect the hidden humans, or you could spread the word, let the galaxy know that humans aren't gone, just hiding. Dr. Zix thought hard. It was a big responsibility. I don't know what to do, he admitted. Araya nodded understandingly. You don't have to decide right now. But there's one more thing you should know. What's that? Dr. Zix asked. Araya's face grew serious again. The dangers that made humans hide, they're still out there. And they might be looking for anyone who knows the truth. Dr. Zix felt scared. You mean, I might be in danger now? Possibly, Araya said. But don't worry, humans left behind protectors. If you choose to keep their secret, they'll keep you safe too. Dr. Zix's mind was racing. He had come looking for a simple explanation, but found a huge mystery instead. Humans weren't just some lost species. They were secret heroes, protecting the galaxy from a danger no one else knew about. This is a lot to take in, Dr. Zix said, sitting down heavily. Araya's voice was kind. I know. Take your time. Think about what you've learned. When you're ready, you can decide what to do next. Dr. Zix nodded slowly. He looked around the bunker, seeing it with new eyes. This wasn't just an old room. It was a gateway to a huge secret. As he sat there, thinking about everything he had learned, Dr. Zix realized something. His boring job looking at space maps was over. A new adventure was just beginning. And whatever he decided to do next, nothing would ever be the same again. Dr. Zix sat in the bunker, his mind still spinning from Araya's big reveal. Humans were hidden all over the galaxy. But how? He had to know more. Araya, he said, can you show me how humans mixed with other species? Araya's screen lit up. Of course, Dr. Zix. Let's take a little trip through the galaxy. Suddenly, the bunker walls disappeared. Dr. Zix found himself floating in space, surrounded by stars. Wow, he gasped, reaching out to touch a nearby star. His hand passed right through it. Oh, it's just a picture. Araya chuckled. It's a simulation. Now let's look at your home planet first. A familiar green and purple planet appeared. Dr. Zix recognized it as his homeworld. This is where you're from, Araya said. Now, watch closely. A strand of glowing DNA appeared next to the planet. It slowly merged with the planet's image. Many years ago, humans visited your world, Araya explained. They left a tiny bit of their DNA behind. It mixed with your species over time. Dr. Zix's eyes went wide. You mean, I'm part human? Just a very small part, Araya said. But yes, that's why you were able to understand human emotions in the tests. Dr. Zix looked at his hands in wonder. He had a connection to the mysterious humans. Let's look at other planets, Araya said. The view zoomed out, showing more worlds. On each planet, Dr. Zix saw the same thing. A strand of human DNA, mixing with the local species. Some planets had more human DNA. Some had less. Humans spread their DNA all over, Araya said. They wanted to make sure some part of them survived, no matter what. Dr. Zix watched in amazement. But why doesn't anyone know about this? Araya's voice was serious. The changes were very small. Most species never noticed, and the humans made sure to erase all records of their visits. The view changed again. Now Dr. Zix saw strange, glowing creatures floating in space. Some humans even changed themselves completely, Araya said. They turned into beings of pure energy. Dr. Zix gasped. Like the aliens that chased them. Similar, yes, Araya nodded. But these energy beings are friendly. They watch over the galaxy, protecting it in secret. Dr. Zix's head was spinning. Humans were everywhere, in the DNA of countless species, in hidden bunkers like this one, even floating in space as energy beings. This is amazing, he said. But why are you showing me all this? The space view faded away. Dr. Zix was back in the bunker. Araya's face looked serious on the screen. Because you have a choice to make, she said. Now that you know the truth, you can help protect the human legacy. Dr. Zix stood up straight. How can I help? Araya smiled. There are 3 ways. First, you can keep the secret. Don't tell anyone what you've learned here. Dr. Zix nodded. That seemed easy enough. Second, Araya continued, you can help spread human ideas. The things you learned in the tests, creativity, kindness, curiosity. Share those with others. I can do that, Dr. Zix said. He was already thinking of ways to be more creative at his job. And third, Araya said, her voice getting serious, you can help us prepare. Prepare? Dr. Zix asked. For what? Araya's screen showed images of the dark creatures from the wormhole. The danger isn't gone, Dr. Zix. Someday, humans will need to come out of hiding. When that day comes, they'll need allies. Dr. Zix felt a mix of excitement and fear. You want me to help fight these creatures? Araya shook her head. Not fight. Not yet. But we need people like you. People who understand humans, who can help bring species together. Dr. Zix thought about it. It was a big job. Maybe too big for one small alien like him. But then he remembered the tests. How he felt when he saved the child, when he made the sad person laugh. Those were human feelings. And he had them too. I'll do it, he said, standing tall. I'll help protect the human legacy. Araya's face beamed with pride. Excellent. Then it's time for your final task. What's that? Dr. Zix asked. Go home, Araya said. Live your life. But watch for signs. Someday, you'll meet others who know the truth. Together, you'll help prepare the galaxy for humanity's return. Dr. Zix nodded. He felt different now. Stronger, braver, more human. As he turned to leave the bunker, Araya called out one last time. Remember, Dr. Zix, you're not just protecting humans. You're protecting your family. A family that stretches across the stars. Dr. Zix looked back and smiled. He wasn't just boring Dr. Zix anymore. He was part of something bigger. A hidden family, waiting for the day they could come together again. As he stepped out of the bunker, back into the empty city, Dr. Zix knew his greatest adventure was just beginning. Dr. Zix stood at the entrance of his spaceship, looking back at the empty Earth one last time. His mind was full of everything he had learned. Humans, hidden family, secret missions. It all seemed like a dream. But it wasn't a dream. In his pocket was a small device Araya had given him. It was proof that everything was real. Time to go home, he said to himself, climbing into his ship. As he flew away from Earth, Dr. Zix felt different. He wasn't just a map reader anymore. He was a guardian of a big secret. The journey back to his planet was long. Dr. Six spent the time thinking about what he would do next. How could he spread human ideas without telling the secret? Finally, he saw his home planet. The green and purple world looked the same as when he left. But now he knew it wasn't the same at all. As soon as he landed, his boss called him to a meeting. Dr. Six, his boss said, looking angry. You were gone for days. Where were you? Dr. Six took a deep breath. He couldn't tell the truth, but he didn't want to lie. I found something amazing, he said. It made me think about how we do things. I have some ideas that could make our work better. His boss looked surprised. Dr. Six had never spoken up like this before. Oh, really? His boss said. Let's hear these ideas then. Dr. Six smiled and started talking. He suggested ways to make their maps more creative. He talked about working together better as a team. He even proposed a new project to look for signs of ancient civilizations. His boss listened with big eyes. When Dr. Six finished, the room was quiet. Then his boss did something surprising. He smiled. Dr. Six, he said, I don't know what happened to you out there, but I like these new ideas. Let's try them out. Over the next few months, things began to change. Dr. Six's ideas made work more fun and exciting. His co-workers started coming up with their own creative thoughts. One day, a young intern came to Dr. Six's desk. How do you come up with such good ideas? She asked. Dr. Six thought carefully before answering. I try to be curious, he said. I imagine how things could be different. And I never stop asking questions. The intern nodded. I want to be like that too, she said. Dr. Six felt proud. He was spreading human ideas, just like ARIA had asked. But it wasn't all easy. Sometimes, late at night, Dr. Six would worry. What if the dark creatures came back? Was he doing enough to prepare? In those moments, he would take out the device ARIA gave him. It would glow softly, reminding him that he wasn't alone. Somewhere out there, others were working to protect the secret too. One day, something exciting happened. Dr. Six's team found traces of an ancient space station. It was hidden in an asteroid belt, hard to spot on their maps. As they studied the station, Dr. Six noticed something familiar. Some of the markings looked like the writing he had seen on Earth. His heart beat fast. Could this be a human station? A clue to their hidden history? He couldn't tell his team the truth, but he made sure they studied the station carefully. We might learn something important, he told them. Months turned into years. Dr. Six kept working, kept spreading ideas. He never told anyone his secret, but he watched and waited, always ready. Then one day, his device started beeping. On the screen was a message. It's time. Go to these coordinates. Dr. Six felt excited and scared. This was what he had been waiting for. He told his boss he needed to take a trip. I have a feeling we'll find something amazing, he said. As he flew his ship to the secret meeting place, Dr. Six thought about his journey. He had started as a board map reader. Now he was part of a galactic secret, flying to meet other guardians of humanity's legacy. He didn't know what would happen next. Maybe they would plan how to bring humans back. Maybe they would prepare to fight the dark creatures. Whatever it was, he was ready. As he saw other ships approaching the meeting place, Dr. Six smiled. This wasn't the end of his adventure. It was just the beginning. He had found a new family among the stars. He had a big job to do. And someday when humans returned, he would be there to welcome them home. As his ship docked with the others, Dr. Six took a deep breath. Here we go, he said. Time for the next big adventure. And with that, he stepped forward into his new life, ready to help shape the future of the galaxy.